G'day friends, my name is James, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. Today we're going to do a good old 15 minutes of mixed media art journaling. I have two pieces that I'm going to be working on. You'll see the other one flash up on the screen on the left hand side in a second. Last night I did an Instagram live stream. Thank you to those of you who joined me and just hung out all night. Super fun. Love to chat with you and to see what you're all up to. So last one out we did that, and unbeknownst to me, I did have in my mind that I wanted to do the page that I'm doing on the left, but I had told myself in my brain I'm saving that for YouTube. And I ended up doing it on a live stream and then remembered at the end it was supposed to be for YouTube. So I said I would harvest that video and put it on here. So that's why it's in this video, because the page on the right, I thought I would actually finish that one today. So essentially they're both the same thing, although I did want the left one to be on YouTube. So I guess we're just spoilt for choice. Now we've got both. Both of these are pages that I created with leftover paint. If you watched last week's behind the scenes of Collage Club video, that was where the kind of base of these formed, and I used all that leftover paint from those numbers that I did for Collage Club. I used that to start these pieces. This little Alice on the left, and on the right it was just a kind of whimsical girl with lots of flowers in her hair, little pink hair under there. So I thought I would finish them up, and they both kind of approach the same way. I'm going to talk about the process a little bit, not before I say a big thank you to everyone who sent well wishes to myself earlier in the week for that little tummy bug that I caught, and then for Steve, because I gave it to Steve, and he was having his own issues with getting dehydrated. Poor thing, had a frozen face and everything. That's what he tells me. I hope he didn't hear me say that. He's in the other room. He heard me say it. I'll share that story with you another time, maybe. So anyway, Steve's getting better and he's feeling a lot better today, but thank you for the well wishes. We both appreciate it. All things considered, we're doing fabulously well, and it was nice just for Steve to take a break. I don't know if you know this about Steve, but he's like a go gadget person. Like, it just does not stop, and Steve doesn't schedule days off for himself, and I actually don't know when he takes time off. I think he takes time off when he sleeps. Like, that's it. I don't even think he sleeps for a whole 8 hours. He's just a non-stop Energizer bunny, so it's actually nice to see him rest for a little bit. It makes me feel less guilty for all the resting that I do. I do believe rest is important. Anyway, let's move on. What I've been doing lately is been going into Disneyland a lot. I think you've seen that on my Instagram. I did get my Magic Key, which is their fancy term for annual pass. I got the Believe Key, which I think is just the step below the top one, because I didn't need the parking. I also live very close to Disneyland. I could walk if I weren't lazy, but I am, so I've been going there a lot. Steve's back at performing. It's so lovely to see shows in person again. I haven't seen a show in person for so long, and it was kind of special to see Steve out there, giving it all that. And I had a really great time. I've been in there by myself as well. Just kind of, I take my journals in there and I just do some of my work, or just kind of play around, go on a ride here or there, have a coffee. It's a nice place for me to be, just to people watch. I don't know how familiar people were with the fact that I was doing that before the pandemic. When I had my annual pass, I would oftentimes just end up in Disneyland and either pick up Steve from work, but just kind of hang out as well and just enjoy myself. It was a nice place to be. Super magical. It's a very fantastical place. It's a little different to have that experience where you're in Disneyland, but you're not rushing to get to every ride and make sure you're getting your tickets money's worth, and doing it with the whole family of children. It's a really different experience to kind of go in there by yourself or with a few others, especially like at Art Journaling the Magic, when you go in there with people who love to journal or do urban sketching. It's really different, and I really, really enjoy it. So I've just been really living that fantasy since it's been so long since I've been able to do it. And once I got my Magic Key, I was making reservations left, right, and center so I could be in there as much as I could. And I'm already excited for, the Halloween this season that's coming up and is already kind of in the parks, but also the Christmas one. I just saw they're doing some merriest nights. I guess it's like Christmas parties. I saw it was $165, and I'm a little torn because one of the perks of having your annual pass is that you do kind of get that value. So it's a lot of money, but it's when you divide it out by how many times you go to the park over 12 months, I think it's totally worth it for me, seeing as I go a lot. But it then becomes really, really difficult to justify buying an individual day pass because I don't see Like, I don't know, the value I'm sure is in there, and it is what you make of it, honestly, most of the time, but I guess I'm just waiting to see exactly what they're going to do for that, just so I am not buying like that much of a ticket. Like, it's $165 is a huge amount of money per person to go in, and I don't really know what's different about it just yet. So I'm going to wait for more of their advertising to come out. We missed out on the Halloween party because we decided too late that we wanted to go, and all their tickets were sold out. So, I mean, expensive or not, Disney doesn't have a problem getting people through the door to those special events. And now I was kicking myself about the Halloween one, mostly because Virtual Voyage 5 is coming up and we're doing Disney villains as the theme, but also because they have they have a new character meet and greet experiences, and they have Sid from Toy Story, and they have Agatha from WandaVision, which I'm not a big Marvel person, but WandaVision was my absolute everything. And then, what's it called? Cruella. As if I'd forget. Cruella, the live action Cruella that just came out with Emma Stone. They have a character meet and greet with her in there as well. Not the actual Emma Stone, but look very, very similar. Same costumes, big setup, really nice set thing going on there. So I've been looking at it on Instagram and social media, being a little jealous, just a little secretly jealous. Shh, don't tell anyone. But anyway, I have much to be thankful for, and so that is where I've been, and I've been in and out of there. I've also been filming a bunch of stuff for Virtual Voyage 5 in the park as well, so, you know, not all play, but definitely going in there with the intention to get as much out of it as I can. Anyway, let's move on. I want to chat to you about what I'm doing in the video, because I think some people are still around for the art journaling. Who knew? At this point, I mean, who knows what to expect from this channel. So I have both these pages with unfinished pages done with leftover paint. The paints were all different types, but if you want to generalize them, you could say they were all kind of regular acrylics, not matte acrylic, which is different. It's kind of harder in mixed media to use regular acrylics that have either a satin finish or a kind of glossy finish, especially if it's a high gloss finish. It is difficult to use mixed media on that. I was lucky enough that because I sheared a lot of it down with water, and I don't know, something about the application, some of them mixing together, some of them really did mattify, but a lot of it you could still see a lot of that texture and that brush stroke effect. There was a lot of this impasto kind of really thick, you know, texture to the page. You were kind of drawing over the top of lumps and bumps and peaks and valleys. So it is an interesting experience to work on pieces that are that textured. It kind of loosens me up a little bit, frees me up a little bit more. And my main goal is to not kind of get rid of all of those beautiful textural strokes, and especially if like lots of the different colors have all kind of found their way into one brush stroke. I really don't want to take away from that. So my plan is typically to usually just reinforce the shadows and highlights. I kind of leave everything on the page as it is, as the mid-tone, and the colors that I like, I'm just going to leave it there. And then I really start to carve out the highlights and the shadows, and I work back and forwards in that process over and over and over again, just doing little bits at a time with any mediums that will work. My Holbein Artist colored pencils, the pastel kind, you can see me using the lemon one. I think, no, is it lemon or cream? I think it's cream. Don't quote me on that one. But that yellow one on the left, very creamy, very soft, and so it does actually layer over those paints. Even some of the more slick paints, it does layer over there really, really nicely. So you just kind of have to, as with most things, trial and error which things will layer over the top. Those luminance pencils do a really good job of layering over all of this as well. I think like the Crayola Polychromos, like sometimes it depends on which colors you use. It has to be a bit of a softer one, I think, to really show up. But I say just go for it, try anything. If it doesn't work, just move on to the next thing. But definitely the Holbein Artist colored pencils, if you can get your hands on that pastel set, they always come in handy for me. They're some of my favorite colored pencils that I have. I also had a lot of these Corinne Deco Brush markers. Those ones that you see in the frame on both screens are paint, like acrylic paint. I say acrylic paint loosely. It's not technically acrylic paint. It's more like an acrylic ink, I would say. It has to be really fluid for it to be able to saturate inside that felt tip. And these are brush tips, but they're not individual bristles. It is kind of like a felted brush. And it is Yeah, I really like them. I like playing with them. I'm still not super used to them. They kind of come in this big box because I think I got the full set. I know. I bought them all because I thought if I was going to justify shipping them over from Poland, I should get the whole set so I didn't have to buy the others. I'm not going to say you have to rush out and buy those. I think if you come across a few of them, it might be fun just to add to your mixed media process. But I don't see many people having a huge need for those. If you're someone that does like to paint a lot, I assume you'd probably be painting with your favorite acrylics anyway. But if you're someone that likes to do, like for me, the most useful thing was doing smaller illustrations that I wanted to have a very flat kind of gouache type effect. I think that's what they were useful for me. I wouldn't do any big pieces with them, and as it were here, I was using mostly for glazing. So I would either smudge it out with my fingers once I had put it on, or I'd even get a little water brush and activate the ink whilst it was wet and try and spread it around and kind of glaze those colors over the top. This is very much a process of highlights and shadows, lots of glazing, so lots of transparent layers on top of each other. And then right at the end, you go in with your details. And I only really detail a few things. I detail the eyes, I detail the nose a little bit, the inside of the mouth, like that inner mouth line, I'll detail that. The eyebrows, the hairline, I'll usually detail a little bit. And then right at the end, I grab my, what's it called? Uniball Signo white gel pen. And then I will put all of the little white highlights over everything. That's kind of like my finishing piece. But for the piece on the right, I did end up taking that that gel pen and doing all the little flowers in the hair as well. I get really carried away with that white gel pen. I find I have the least restraint with that over anything else. But it is a process that just kind of that just kind of repeats itself over and over again. There are close-ups coming towards the end of this video, and I'll even close up the one on the left a little bit sooner than the ones on the right, but I want you to just have a look at how much texture and how much layering there is to these pieces. I would be fascinated to actually count how many layers go into it right from the beginning, from that messy kind of leftover paint stage all the way up until the last kind of white highlight details that I use with my gel pen. There could be upwards of 30 layers. And sometimes, like especially in those little impasto areas, like the really thick paint that's dried really thick, sometimes I accidentally put a pencil through that and it flakes off. Not all of the mediums kind of react well together, and it's just an interesting process I try not to get too caught up in the logistics of. I kind of have my process, I have my plan, which is, like I said, shadows and highlights, build those up, glaze those up into some kind of vibrant, nice saturation and some good depth. Doesn't even have to be good, nor are they real. I should mention that I think anyone who knows highlights and shadows can tell I'm not using any specific lighting pattern, but I do just put the shadows and highlights where I like them. And then you'll see right close up at the end, there's still so much character to the page when you look at it close up. The kind of hardest thing for these pieces is actually to examine them from further away. They're a harder sell when you're looking at them from further away. So I actually find these don't translate well to screen because you're kind of taking it all in at once. But I find that when I do look at these, I'm often mesmerized by the certain like little sections here and there where some of those original brush strokes are still peeking through, or you can tell that there's like there's tons and tons of layers in this one section, and then there's a little area over to the side that's like barely touched. It just feels really interesting and textural to me. And then you can just see, like, when you zoom out, you're kind of piecing together the detail a little bit more, but when you actually look closely, it's pretty blurry, it's pretty scribbly, it's pretty textured. Nothing really is as refined as it kind of appears at a glance. I do just really, really love it. I don't really care about the proportions, the angles, the lighting, the anything. To me, it's just all about the mediums kind of layered over the top of each other. And to me, that's like kind of what mixed media is to me at this point. A whole mixed media art piece is just throwing everything I have at it and getting super relaxed and open with the process and building it up in many, many, many stages. It's more of a process, a bit of a slow marathon rather than a quick sprint, which is nice. I like to mix it up. Sometimes I only have 15 minutes to do something, and then other days I have hours to sit and play. So I'll indulge both of those experiences. In any case, that was it for today. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you again another time. Bye.